Coming up, an eye-to-eye investigation. Norplant. Putting this birth control device in was one thing. Getting it out was a different story.
They told me if I would have waited any longer, I probably wouldn't have woke up.
It sounded almost too good to be true. A revolutionary new form of birth control that promised 5 years of protection, and women didn't have to worry about taking a daily pill. Since Norplant came on the market in the U.S. 3 years ago, nearly 1 million women have decided to try it. But our investigative correspondent, Roberta Baskin, has been following the story for the past few months, and she reports a lot of those women are worrying now. Roberta?
Well, Connie, Norplant has been used successfully in many countries for nearly a decade. And here in the United States, it has turned out to be an easy, effective means of birth control for most women. Easy as long as it was in. You wear long sleeves?
Every single day.
These two small scars bring back painful memories, literally, of the day Enrita Garcia had her Norplant contraceptive removed. How bad was the pain getting it out?
The pain getting it out I likened to labor, and labor was easier as far as I'm concerned.
But it wasn't supposed to be that way.
The most dramatic advance in birth control.
It's called Norplant.
What looks like a handful of matchsticks.
In December of 1990, the Norplant system hit the American market. Billed as hassle-free birth control,
What I'm doing is numbing each part here.
it involves surgically implanting 6 matchstick-sized rods under the skin of the upper arm. The rods release a synthetic hormone that inhibits pregnancy for up to 5
A
years.
little bit of swelling, we expect.
After that, they're surgically removed. For thousands of women, Norplant has been successful and problem-free. But not for Enrita. She says weight gain and constant bleeding convinced her to have her Norplant removed after only a year. She thought the procedure would be simple. It wasn't.
The removal process was nothing like the literature said it was supposed to be.
Enrita read this Norplant fact sheet
Removal takes place in the office
and watched this video.
It usually takes 15 to 30 minutes.
But the video and brochure say only that some removals may take longer and that an additional visit and incision may be required.
I went there thinking that I was going to feel a little pinching, a little pulling, and it ended up being an ordeal that was over 2 hours of excruciating pain to have it removed.
It was frustrating.
Chicago doctor Jeffrey Lurch says removing Enrita's Norplant was difficult because the rods had become encased in scar tissue, and that's something his Norplant training didn't prepare him for.
We were told that the insertion technique was simple, that the removal might be a little more difficult, but that it should not be that difficult.
And is it a little more difficult?
Not in my experience, it hasn't been. It's been extremely difficult.
And this is far from an isolated case. Our eye-to-eye investigation has found a number of women upset about what they didn't know about Norplant removals. Taking it out can be painful, time-consuming, and an unexpected problem for women, because these matchstick-like rods that look so easy to put in may not be so easy to take out.
I should have just had my arm cut off.
You don't have to convince Ramona Turi of Merced, California, that Norplant removals can be difficult.
I love you.
The mother of a 2-year-old, Turi had become pregnant again, a rarity with Norplant. And while doctors did get her Norplant out, they left behind this gruesome reminder.
And then this is where they
Tried to take it out.
Ramona first went to the clinic where she had the Norplant inserted. A nurse tried to get it out.
The lady took 2.5 hours just trying to get one out,
2.5 hours?
and she couldn't get the rest out.
Ramona was told to come back in a few weeks, but the pain became so intense, she rushed off to the emergency room. Apparently just in time. Her arm had become infected.
They told me if I would have waited any longer, just overnight, I probably wouldn't have woke up.
While Ramona survived, she lost her baby. Now she too is angry. She wants to know why she was never warned. Buried in fine print, the distributor's own statistics show removal difficulties of varying degrees 13% of the time. But that information goes to the doctor. Patients may or may not be told.
If they would have told me that they had problems with taking it out, I know I would have had second thoughts. Give bear kisses?
Ramona says the doctors who removed the Norplant told her the rods were placed too deeply under her skin. That's not as uncommon as you might think. And one reason could be that health professionals who insert Norplant are not required to be trained in the procedure. The Norplant distributor does have a training program and has trained thousands of doctors, but many others learn simply by watching the videotape and practicing on this artificial arm. This prosthetic device doesn't build up scar tissue.
That is correct. This is inert. It will not react at all.
I personally don't think anyone should do anything that they're not trained to do.
Dr. Keith Brown was one of the first doctors to attend a Norplant training session.
Let's listen to the baby's heartbeat now.
He now teaches the procedure. He thinks he knows why some doctors don't sign up for the training.
Sounds good. Because they feel like they're smart enough and they're good enough and they can do it without training. Now, we all know that that's not necessarily true.
And the consequence for women is what?
Improper insertions, therefore difficult removals.
This one was a little bit bent in there.
Nurse Sue Ortoliva's Sacramento clinic has done over 800 removals. In fact, more removals than insertions.
We've got 4 out.
She says many women come to her because they're unable to find a doctor willing to do the procedure.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little more numbing medicine then.
Some clinics even charge extra for difficult removals. And she, too, blames the Norplant training.
Hey, they're out. When you first were trained to do Norplant, was there much attention or focus on removals? I don't think there was. I think part of it was that as clinicians, we never expected to be taking very many out right away.
I mean, come on. Putting this thing in a woman's body and not worrying about taking it out?
Chicago attorney Jewel Klein has filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of women who have had trouble with Norplant removals.
And our phone has been ringing off the hook.
It charges Wyeth Erst, the company that distributes Norplant, with failing to warn women about the difficulty of removal and without requiring doctors to be properly trained. Wyeth Erst declined our repeated requests for an interview, but in this written statement, the company says that more than 26,000 healthcare providers have participated in insertion and removal instruction, and that instruction, free of charge, is available at over 300 medical institutions throughout the United States. But that training isn't required.
That this product could be sold to be inserted in a woman's body and stay there for 5 years, and there'd be no requirement that doctors be adequately trained, that's outrageous.
Outrageous, but true. The Food and Drug Administration can insist that Norplant be safe and effective, but it can't require that doctors be trained. The FDA says it knew there would be some problems with Norplant removals. Studies in third world countries had shown that. But the severity of problems now being reported has even taken the FDA by surprise.
That has been unexpected, the cases that have been very bad.
The FDA's Dr. Lisa Rarick was in charge of reviewing Norplant for approval in this country. She says women may not be getting the full story about removal problems from the Norplant labeling.
The wording may need to be changed now that we are seeing more extensive difficulties than we would have expected. And we're working with the company towards labeling changes.
Wyeth Erst refused to comment on any proposed changes. The company does say that it encourages physicians to counsel their patients and provides extensive educational materials. But the company also says it's up to physicians to decide which materials to pass on to their patients. Meanwhile, women continue to complain.
We're going to put the sled down and we're going to go for a sled ride, all right?
Among them, Deborah Partridge of Joliet, Illinois, who's added her name to the growing list.
The minute he tried to pull the first one out, he couldn't get it. And he goes, uh-oh, these are going to be a little sticky.
Removal took an hour and a half. She says the pain was excruciating. And like other women we spoke with, Deborah says she felt unprepared for it.
They make it sound like you pop in, they cut it, they take them out, you're done.
Who would want to have something implanted in their arm that's like a time bomb? I don't think anybody would opt for that choice.
Just this week, the FDA told us that Wyeth Erst has agreed to change its Norplant labeling. The new label will say that some women have reported, quote, pain, numbness, and scarring when they had their Norplant removed. And Connie, doctors are working on new techniques so that no removal will be an ordeal.
Good. Roberta, thanks.